all the way up until the fourth. And me personally, this is just getting old. This is getting old, man. I'm sick of this. Now, Stephanie White did speak to the media immediately after this game. We're going to get into that in a hot second, man. But overall, they finished the game 84-98. Aaliyah Boston got a double-double. She was 15, 12, and 6. Then you got Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham showed up and showed out. She hit 5 big-time three-point shots. Cannot be mad at her. Even Natasha Howard showed up, man. Ari, I don't know what happened to her.
The Indiana Fever suffered another disappointing defeat in New York, and while the outcome wasn't entirely unexpected, the manner of their collapse raises significant concerns. The team managed to stay competitive through 3 quarters, trailing by only 2 points entering the final period. However, their season-long pattern of fourth-quarter meltdowns continued to plague them once again. This recurring theme of strong starts followed by late-game struggles has become the defining characteristic of their campaign. The Fever simply cannot maintain their intensity and execution across all 4 quarters against quality opposition. When crucial moments arrive in games, their performance deteriorates dramatically, and this trend is becoming increasingly frustrating to witness.
Not be mad at her. Even Natasha Howard showed up, man. Ari, I don't know what happened to her.
Following the 84-98 loss, head coach Stephanie White addressed reporters about the team's performance. The final statistics showed some positive individual contributions, with Aaliyah Boston recording another double-double performance of 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. Sophie Cunningham delivered an impressive offensive display, connecting on 5 three-point attempts and providing valuable scoring. Natasha Howard also contributed effectively, though other players struggled to make their mark. The bench production disparity told a concerning story, with New York's reserves outscoring Indiana's bench players 23-7. This significant gap in secondary scoring proved crucial, especially with key players unavailable due to injuries and other roster disruptions. During the post-game interview, White acknowledged the challenge posed by New York's bench depth, noting their efficient 9-for-13 shooting performance from the field. However, she identified a gear-specific stretch that proved decisive, a devastating 16-18 point run by the opposition spanning the final 3 minutes of the third quarter and opening minutes of the fourth period. White emphasized that such momentum swings cannot occur against elite competition. She attributed this collapse to poor shot selection and costly turnovers that led to easy scoring opportunities for their opponents. The coach pointed out that early in the contest, her team generated quality scoring chances that simply didn't convert, but they could still establish their defensive sets.
The bench was 23 for New York.
The problematic run came when turnovers created transition opportunities that prevented proper defensive positioning. The statistical damage was evident in 2 key areas: 20 points allowed off turnovers and 20 points conceded from the free throw line. These 40 combined points essentially decided the outcome against a championship-caliber opponent. When questioned about defensive recognition and adjustment, White explained that the issue isn't necessarily knowledge-based, but rather situational awareness during live action. She noted that players players understand the scouting reports when tested, but translating that information into real-time decision-making remains challenging.
The bench was 23 for New York and 7 for you guys, and obviously you had some different people in different places with Caitlin out, but is New York that much tougher when they're getting 23 points off the bench? And I think they were, 9 for 13 from the field. So,
yeah, I mean, certainly it is. It's tough when you're getting that kind of production, when you have that kind of depth. But the thing that stood out to me was the last 3 minutes of the third and the first 2 to 3 minutes of the fourth, where they went on like a 16 or 18-3 run. You can't allow that to happen.
The coach detailed specific defensive principles, such as forcing players away from their preferred driving directions and disrupting catch-and-shoot opportunities for three-point specialists. She stressed the importance of making opponents work for difficult shots rather than allowing comfortable looks. These adjustments require heightened awareness during fluid game situations rather than predetermined scenarios. Regarding the team's preseason expectations as contenders, White's response proved particularly noteworthy. When pressed about the roster's talent and depth failing to translate into consistent high-level performance, she deflected responsibility for those lofty predictions.
To happen against championship caliber teams, and different than their early run. It was poor shot selection, turnovers.
Now let me stop it right here. Stephanie, you're the coach. You're the reason that they're having these turnovers. You should have drew some up and prevented the damn 20-point disaster off the turnovers, bro. You're failing to take responsibility for what just happened.
That they got some easy buckets and got runouts for, ways that we weren't able to set our defense.
The coach suggested that others could debate whether the team was truly ready for contender status. This deflection contradicted earlier statements made during the season's opening press conference, where championship goals and expectations were explicitly discussed. The apparent contradiction between those initial proclamations and current explanations raised questions about accountability and messaging consistency. White acknowledged that only veteran players Taurasi and Griner possess genuine championship experience on the roster. She emphasized that teams must navigate through difficult periods to develop that championship mentality.
They got some easy buckets and got runouts for, ways that we weren't able to set our defense. I thought early in the ball game we were getting high quality shots that weren't going in. We knew when they were coming, and so we could set our defense. And that run really stood out to me. I was looking at the turnovers. 20 points off of turnovers. You can't give that to great teams, and 20 points from the free throw line. I mean, that's 40 points right there.
She felt like
in games, or how is that something you fix?
I don't know if it's not knowing as much as having awareness when you're on there. In transition, you get awareness when you're on there. In transition, you get matched up, cross-matched oftentimes. If you quiz them on the scouting report, they know it. But recognizing it in live action, understanding again, like what we're willing to live with, playing tendencies. Because at the end of the day, players make plays. And you have to make them make difficult plays, and that's not letting players who like to drive left, right? Make them go right. Not allowing wide open catch and shoot threes to 3-point shooters.
The organization must eliminate these lapses to reach their potential. When asked about timeline expectations for team development, particularly given ongoing roster turnover and player availability issues, White's response was measured. The interview concluded before she could fully address questions about when the team's identity might solidify. The overall assessment reveals a franchise struggling with consistency and fourth quarter
over 4 million. This, in fact, is less viewership than an average Caitlin Clark game. You had, and I mean as I say this, they would be going out of their way to show how high the peak is, I'm guessing. Down 33%. They would be going out of their way to show what the peak is, the WNBA, if the peak was much higher. If it was just, we peaked and people turned it off. But
the coaching staff faces pressure to address these systematic issues while managing roster instability and injury concerns. The pattern of competitive play followed by late-game collapses suggests deeper issues beyond simple execution problems. Whether through strategic adjustments, personnel changes, or mental conditioning, the organization must find solutions to break this destructive cycle that has defined their season. The WNBA All-Star Game viewership numbers have been released, revealing concerning trends for the league's broadcast performance. The event attracted 2.19 million viewers, representing a significant decline from the previous year's peak audience of over 4 million spectators.
But like, this is less viewers than an average Caitlin Clark game. Like, we have to say it like it is. The only positive thing is that the 3-point contest and skills challenge doubled the viewership from nearly a year ago. That's a positive. That is a positive, that it's very clear that people care about more than Caitlin Clark. But it's also very clear that Caitlin Clark she doesn't move the needle, she is the needle.
What makes these figures particularly striking is that they fall below the typical viewership numbers for regular season games featuring Caitlin Clark. The broadcast audience was down approximately 33% compared to previous expectations, suggesting the league faces challenges in maintaining viewer engagement without its marquee star. However, some positive developments emerged from the weekend's events. The 3-point contest and skills challenge managed to double their viewership compared to the same competitions from the previous year. This improvement indicates that fan interest extends beyond individual players and encompasses various league activities.
She doesn't move the needle, she is the needle. Like, the WNBA All-Star game, technically, is smaller than an average game that Caitlin Clark plays. If Caitlin Clark plays on ESPN, it's going to draw more than 2.2 million viewers. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, I think in general, people have to just kind of accept that. They have to just accept that like,
the situation highlights Clark's extraordinary impact on WNBA viewership. Regular ESPN broadcasts featuring Clark consistently draw audiences exceeding 2.2 million viewers, making her absence from the All-Star game particularly noticeable. This demonstrates that Clark doesn't simply influence ratings, she essentially defines them for the league. While acknowledging Clark's dominance in driving viewership, it's worth noting that the league managed to attract 2 million viewers without her participation. This represents a substantial increase from 2023's All-Star game, which drew only 900,000 viewers.
Just accept that like, it realistically, the league goes where Caitlin goes. As much as you want to say, oh, the league is more than Caitlin, I actually do agree with that. I agree the league is more than Caitlin Clark, and it's very clear the league is more than Caitlin Clark, because they still pulled in 2 million viewers without her playing. And it's way up, by the way. It is way up on 2023. 2023 was 900,000. It is double 2023. And if you want to look at that, like, as a positive, you can.
The doubling of audience size from the previous non-Clark year suggests the league has grown its overall fan base. Despite this growth, critics argue the WNBA hasn't effectively promoted other talented players throughout the season. The league struggles to generate comparable excitement around other storylines and personalities. Fan engagement ultimately translates through viewership and attendance rather than social media metrics alone. Social media activity, while generating buzz, doesn't necessarily convert to meaningful audience numbers.
If you can. If you want to look at that as a positive, that you know what, it is, it's a big thing. But like, you can also look at it that like the league has not done a good job of promoting its other players in the last year, and the league has not done a good job of making people care. The league hasn't, because let's be real, people want to talk about other players moving the needle as well, and Paige Beckers, and oh, look at the All-Star votes, and Nafisa Collier was close.
Online discussions often center around controversial topics rather than basketball fundamentals. This pattern becomes evident when comparing engagement levels between different types of content. Heated debates generate more interaction than pure basketball analysis. Angel Reese's popularity, for instance, creates significant social media discussion, but hasn't translated to the same television viewership that Clark commands. The difference between online attention and actual audience commitment remains substantial. The league faces a promotional challenge in building compelling narratives around player rivalries.
And oh, look at the All-Star votes, and Nafisa Collier was close. Like, oh, Angel Reese took over the city and all this stuff. Like, people vote with their eyes and they vote with their wallets. Like, let's be real. Social media and Twitter clicks doesn't mean anything. You vote with your wallets and your attention. Because at the end of the day, like, attention is a form of currency as well. As much as people don't like to say it, attention is a form of currency. And I'm sorry, social media.
Historical examples show that meaningful competitive storylines can be constructed even without pre-existing college relationships. Clark and Reese's rivalry, for instance, developed during their professional careers rather than stemming from collegiate competition. Similar opportunities exist with other talented players like Paige Buckers, who could be positioned in compelling matchups. The league possesses the talent to create engaging storylines but hasn't successfully marketed these narratives to broader audiences. Basketball-focused content consistently receives less attention than personality-driven storylines.
Is a form of currency. And I'm sorry, social media attention isn't, because let's be real. So as much as anything, social media is about rage bait and is about clicks. Like there's no shock that whenever I'll tweet a pro Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese tweet, it'll get 5,000 likes no question. Like that's social media for you. Social media doesn't mean anything. We saw Angel Reese taking over Indiana. Like it says here,
analysis of pure basketball skills and game strategy generates significantly lower engagement than discussions about player conflicts or off-court drama. This trend reflects the league's marketing approach, which often emphasizes non-basketball elements over athletic achievement. Commentary from respected basketball analysts like Candace Parker and Cheryl Miller, who focus on the sport itself, sometimes gets overshadowed by sensationalized coverage. This imbalance affects how fans perceive and engage with the league. The viewership decline becomes more significant when considering that All-Star games traditionally represent the league's highest-rated broadcasts.
Here, they scored historic viewership. Like they literally said it's up 158 on 2023 All-Star game. Like what are we doing? I'm going to talk even more about that. But like obviously that was posted about half an hour ago. But at the end of the day, look, the WNBA they need to do a better job of promoting the league. And I'm not saying, they can't just rely on Caitlin Clark.
The concentration of talent in one event typically maximizes audience appeal, making the reduced numbers particularly concerning. Last year's success stemmed partly from the Clark versus Team USA narrative, which created compelling viewing for basketball fans. The absence of such storylines this year contributed to diminished interest. While the league has attracted new viewers through various initiatives, maintaining their engagement without Clark's presence proves challenging. The dramatic difference in audience size demonstrates the difficulty of sustaining viewership growth across different programming.